So this is Valley's Gemini ST, with the ST standing for Sports Tourer. And what Valley have done here is try to come up with a fully featured sea kayak, but at just 14 foot 10 long. And their reason for doing that is to try and produce a boat that is easier to store, lighter to carry, lift up on top of the car, and certainly coming down to the edge of the Beaulieu River here today with it on my shoulder, really did notice that lighter weight compared to the boats I normally paddle, things like Valley Attains or P&H Cetus, for example. But what they try to do is make sure they've got as many of the features as possible, and certainly looking over this boat, they've done a very, very good job. The one exception that people will probably spot pretty quickly is here at the back area we've got no day hatch. However, we've got nice, decent deck lines running the full length of the boat. We've got grab handles fore and aft with that classic kind of Valley stainless ring at the front there. We've got deck lines running in all the usual places, front and back of the boat, so we can put splits on the back, splits on the front, as people like to. We've got a circular hatch at the front of the boat for storing gear, and a nice big Valley oval hatch at the back. We've also got Valley's deck pod on the front here, and for people that have not seen that, the idea here is that rather than glass in some sort of deck hatch, we've got a small circular hatch here, ideal for putting smaller items in, compasses, sunglasses, snack bar, various other bits and pieces we might want to get access to when we're on the water. The idea here is that if you stop and you're somewhere and you've got some valuables in it, we can simply undo this little cord here and lift the pod out and take that away with us. Pop that back in. Other features we've got the skeg control on the side over here, and we've got a full sort of size skeg running on the boat. Although this is only a 14 foot 10 boat and only sort of just under 22 inches wide, it's got a nice big keyhole cockpit and plenty of space inside the boat. So paddling it's one of the things I was very surprised at. I'm wearing a pair of Canyoneers 510s, quite big chunky soled boots that a lot of white water paddlers will wear. And I thought I'd really struggle to get those inside the boat, but not at all. I can have them up against the footrests. I've got no problem with moving the ends of my feet around and adjusting my foot position, and I've got plenty of space inside this cockpit to get the knees cycling. So as I'm paddling and pushing on the footrests, no problem with that at all. Although it is a nice large cockpit, it's still got decent thigh grips on either side here that let you lock into the boat, with a nice big sort of padded back band and seat, which is removable for people who prefer. It's a very comfortable place to sit and paddle for a decent chunk of time. We've also got up on the front here a nice flat plate there for mounting a compass for those people that choose to, or obviously we could put one onto the deck. With the deck hatch here, it doesn't protrude too much up on the top of the boat, so we've got easy access to these deck lines for things like maps and pumps and other bits and pieces that people like to put on the front of the boat. And in terms of the sort of little features and finishing, Valley have done a fantastic job with this demo boat. There are a few dings and scratches because it has been used at some symposium and various places, but the actual quality of the layup is very, very good indeed. The recessed deck mouldings are all very, very neat. We've got a security bolt sort of with the unusual star-shaped hex keys on here, so a way of sort of locking and attaching bits and pieces at the back. The other thing to sort of note with this boat is that at 14 foot 10, Valley have managed to keep quite a long water line, or water sort of length of the boat in the water when you're paddling, to keep that speed. And they sort of claim that although this is only 14 foot 10, it will keep up with a lot of the sort of 16, 17 foot boats. The hull itself has got a very sort of shallow V on the bottom, but the other thing that you may be able to pick up is this section running along here, where there's quite a sort of a hard chine just there. On the water, it's very, very stable indeed, very stable. It sits nice and flat, doesn't really have a tendency to want to slightly lilt to one side as some sort of V-shaped hulls do. With that wide sort of hard chine section across this bit here, what you find is that you've got a very, very solid secondary stability. But the one thing that I have found on the water is that if you go and try and edge it the way you would something like a larger boat, like an Attain or a Cetus, that you quickly over edge it and find its sort of biting point and it wants to take you over. Once you've readjusted the level of edge that you use, then it's very, very comfortable sat on an edge and letting you sort of really get some quite nice tight turns. A really, really nice little boat. and it's that little niche of the market, people who are after something a bit shorter, a little bit more playful, certainly more manoeuvrable, but it's still got a reasonable speed, and it's still got some load carrying capacity, and then again, very easy to carry, very easy to store, get up on the top of the car. It's a really interesting boat, and I'm quite excited to see how it does.